is one of the world's premier authorities on the psychology of leadership, negotiations, organizational turnaround, and peak performance. In this series of films, you'll see a variety of his interventions as analyzed by Chloe Madonis, world-renowned author and teacher of psychotherapy.
Imagine you've built your business into a multi-million-dollar corporation. Your friends and family are asking you to invest their money. You're able to help so many people, and imagine waking up to find that it's all gone.
13-year career went away. I got wiped out by my stockbroker. I'd talked to him the day before about being conservative. He put me in 3 positions to wipe me out in 7 days. And the money that was wiped out isn't mine. I'm at a point in a month or two, I'm out of all dollars. More than financial is my letting myself down, my vision of who I am.
The loss of your identity.
The sense of my soul being competed for and torn apart. Money is the underpinning of our society. Suicide is a solution to an economic dilemma. What I can do is I can pay Laura back. The asset I do have is a life policy.
Well, you can't pay her back if you're gone.
No, yes, I can. The proceeds are named to her. I know it would pain her tremendously that she got this money by my not being here, but I know what will pain her a hell of a lot more if she doesn't have her money.
I will not let you be this selfish, because the guilt that she will have when you're gone, that you believe that nothing mattered but money, and that she wasn't able to get across to you that she really loved you, will destroy her life and everyone she cares about. And if you're going to be that selfish, I got to protect her from you.
Well, I don't give you permission to do that.
Well, I don't really think you have any authority over me.
And imagine that you could turn it all around in one day.
If I'd lost all my assets, but I didn't have obligations to other people.
I know, and you know what would happen then? You would not grow to become the man you're about to become.
Anthony Robbins in a live, uncut, personal transformation film. Conquering overwhelming loss.
Hi, I'm Tony Robbins. I want to thank you for joining me for this film. I think you're going to find in the next few minutes you're going to be exposed to some great tools to not only make a difference in your own life, shift the things you want to shift, change the things you want to change as rapidly as possible, but maybe even more importantly, learn some tools that you can use to help those you really care about most. Whether you're a leader of a large organization with thousands of people that you want to be able to make a move and help them to shift now, or whether you're a therapist, a helping professional, a parent, or maybe just a good friend who really just cares and you want to make a difference, I think what you're going to see in this film will have a deep impact upon you and empower you to make that difference you've been looking for. Let me give you a little background on myself, if I may, just for a moment. I've been pursuing an obsession for 25 years, and that obsession is the answer to a question, which is what makes people do the things they do? Why do we do the things we do the way we do them? And I've had the privilege now of working with people from 80 countries around the world, more than 3 million people from virtually every walk of life. From the kids addicted to cocaine in the South Bronx to the top CEOs in Hollywood addicted to cocaine. You know, the same patterns that we see everywhere in the world, from top athletes, presidents of countries and companies, to parents and children. And during that time, I've begun to see that there are patterns to human behavior. And I've had a unique experience living at this time in human history where I've been able to be with people from not only diverse areas, but diverse parts of the world. Those patterns stand out. You begin to see that what people do is somewhat predictable. In these films, we're going to start to see how we really approach our lives and how we can really change them. Now, one of the biggest challenges we all have as a society is our culture teaches us to believe that we have limitation. It teaches us to believe that we are the product primarily of our environments. And in fact, the solution in most cases is to drug somebody. More and more we see this determinism. But anyone who's honest with himself, with just a basic investigation, can see that often in life, it's the people that are given everything. They have tremendous love from their family. They have a great education, great background, economic choices. Very often those same people that are given everything don't turn out so well. They may spend the rest of their life going in and out of rehab. And then we find other people that seemingly have every challenge imaginable. They are ignored, they're abused mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually. They don't have the advantages of the education, and somehow, very often, those individuals become the people in society who contribute the most back, those that inspire us and those who touch us. So there's no clear answer that life turns out a certain way because of a certain thing. One thing is clear. We have the power of choice, and the decisions we make day to day about two things, what things mean and what we're going to do, shapes our destiny. And what do I mean? Well, what these films are really about are the lessons of life mastery. Those lessons in life that none of us are really taught, because no matter how successful we become, life is always going to be there with a surprise. I don't care how happy you are right now or successful, there's a challenge waiting, and that's not being negative, it's being real, and we both know it. So these films are about the real challenges that show up for real people. They are raw experiences, but showing you how change can happen faster than you may have ever thought before, and giving the tools to make it happen. In fact, what's unique about these films, I think more than anything I've ever been a part of, is if you read a book or if you listen to tapes, someone can work with you and they can show you, here's the challenge, here's the solution, here's how to go about it. But in these films, you have the unique experience of witnessing the transformation as it happens. And as you witness it, you get a chance to experience it within yourself, and then you have a chance to go back and master it. That is to make these same changes in yourself, and maybe if you'd like to, be able to use the tool to help someone else that you really care about. There is one challenge, though. Normally, when you sit down to watch a DVD or go to a movie, they've spent $200 million to make that thing. And they planned it so that the moment that popcorn enters your mouth, boom, something's happened in those first few seconds to grab you. I mean, the explosion goes off. The bank robber breaks out. There's that sensual tension that you know is happening between these two people, and something's going to happen. Well, life's got a challenge. It's messy. And so in the beginning of these films, you got to stay with me for the first 10 or 15 minutes. Because those first 10 or 15 minutes, what I've got to do is what you've got to do. I've got to get into what's really going on with these people. Because so often in life, when people tell you what their problem is or their challenge is, it isn't what it really is. You know that from your own life experience. So the first part is kind of like diagnosing what's going on. So stay with those first 10 or 15 minutes, and then you'll get hooked. Because then you'll start to witness your life or the life of somebody you really care about or somebody you work with right there before your eyes, and you'll be seeing the changes happen, and you'll be learning. Because we all learn best when we don't know we're learning. When you watch a movie, if it's a great movie, you associate to the main character and you experience what they're feeling, their challenges, their upsets, and ultimately their triumph. The same thing happens here, only it's based on something that's real. Now, the final thing I'll tell you is this, that you also have to be aware that I'll do anything to help someone to break their pattern. Because what stops us are these limiting beliefs, these limiting behavioral or emotional patterns. And I'll do anything. I'll make myself look like an idiot. I'll be silly, stupid, weird, bizarre, gross, sexual, anything. I'll use some adult language, and I'm not using that to be, harsh or to interrupt the person in a mean way. But if you know anything about the tradition of Freud, he understood that most of us use language as a defense mechanism to kind of stay in our box. If you ask somebody, how's it going, very often they'll say things like, oh, pretty good. And it's not good at all. If they were to be honest, you get very different language. So to break that pattern, I'll use words that'll be more provocative. If I said to you something like your rear end, you have one reaction. But if I use the word ass, it may jolt you. And obviously there'll be words that'll be a little more intense than that. And finally, the narrator here is Chloe Madonis. Chloe is a world-famous psychotherapist and trainer of psychotherapists around the world. If you're a therapist, I'm sure you know who she is. And her job is not to entertain you, but as we're doing this, to point out what we're doing so you understand how to make the shifts that are occurring in yourself and in the other people that you might want to help later on as well. This is one of a series of films. This is a system, Lessons in Mastery. Each one promises a different set of lessons, a different set of skills, and a different kind of transformation for you or anybody you want to share this film with who's watching. I will tell you that in life, at different stages, we're interested in different things. It's maybe right now your business is going really great, so you're all excited about that, but maybe your personal life is not quite where you want it to be. Or if your personal life's great, maybe your intimate relationship's not where you need it to be. Or if that's great, do you have enough time with your kids? If that's great, what's happening with your health? If that's great, what's happening with your finances? So at different times, different things will appeal to us, but you'll find that each film has a universal lesson, one that can penetrate beyond the facade of what we think we want right now and to what we really need. Because the base of this all is really understanding human needs. When you understand that, you can experience not just achievement, not just success, not just happiness, but fulfillment. And that ultimately comes not just from meeting our own needs, but finding a way to really serve beyond ourselves. Growth and contribution are the ultimate human needs. I hope as you watch, you experience that expansion of yourself. And if you do, I hope I have a chance someday to meet you and hear the story of how I've used this to make a difference.
This series of personal transformation films is a comprehensive system for creating change in your life as well as helping others, covering topics such as creating passion in your life, growing and enjoying your relationships, intelligent parenting, living your true purpose, overcoming personal loss, finding inner strength, making life decisions, and creating leadership in times of crisis.
In this film, you're going to get to experience someone making a transformation after enormous loss. And we've all experienced losses in our life, and we will again in our future. That doesn't sound very positive, but it's very real. And being prepared for that would be very valuable for us because it allows us not to get that punch in the gut that takes our wind away. We can predict certain things. We're going to lose family or friends. There are going to be career opportunities we're going to lose. We're going to experience disappointments. But some losses we just brush off. We deal with them very easily. Others take us to the core of our fear and of our pain. Some losses are so huge that some people are willing to take their life rather than have to face the loss of identity. What I believe is that the strongest force in the human personality is the need to remain consistent with how we define ourselves. In this case, this man lost millions of dollars. He lost his identity as an achiever. He lost his relationships with a variety of people. But the real loss was not money, it was identity. For some people, they identify with their relationship, and so they can lose all the money and be fine, but if they lost that singular relationship, they don't feel like there's a reason to live. For others, it's a loss of faith that'll take them there. Everyone has their point that'll push them over the edge. The secret in this film is not only to witness and experience his transformation, but to see how you could use these tools to help yourself and others to realize that all loss is temporary. No problem is permanent. Only our souls are permanent. Well, that may sound like a phrase. We all know that there's something inside of us that's greater than circumstances, something inside of us that's greater than anything that could happen to us. Finding that part of ourselves, finding that inner strength that's already within us and tapping into it consistently so that we serve beyond ourselves is what this film is really about. So whether you've lost money, friends, family, businesses, opportunities, relationships, whatever you think you've lost, loss is an illusion. Time to restore that illusion back to the reality that all your needs, those human needs, can be met the moment you get outside yourself and find a way to serve. I hope you enjoy this film, and I know that in the moments that follow, there'll be moments that maybe you'll get hooked, either by things you know that affected you or by people that you care about. Watch and take notes as if you were going to use this to help someone you care about, because someday it may you found these tools to be invaluable in making a difference you're not even prepared for. And I really appreciate and I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve you in this way. My heartfelt wish is that it serves you and it serves many other people in the years to come. Please join me now as you listen in to Dr. Chloe Madonis.
Every one of us has something in our life that we care so deeply about that it is tied to our sense of identity, our self-esteem, our sense of self. For some, it is a relationship or a position in the community. And for some, it is financial success. When a loss in this important area occurs, we can experience a loss of identity, leading to feelings of despair. All of us in the course of our lives will come across circumstances that seem difficult or impossible to overcome. This film will outline the steps that must be taken in such times to bring out the best in yourself and to create a compelling future for yourself and others. Our story begins at a week-long Anthony Robbins leadership conference of about 2,000 participants. The conference is attended by a variety of people who are seeking to improve their leadership skills, from Fortune 500 executives to college students, entrepreneurs, homemakers, and professional people from all over the world. In order to illustrate how quickly it is possible to transform serious life problems, Robbins asks for the people who are most discouraged in the face of extreme personal challenges to stand up for a one-to-one conversation. In any group of 2,000 people, no matter where they are from, there are usually 6 to 12 people who are experiencing suicidal thoughts. In this case, Robbins calls on Jim, a man who was facing extraordinary financial challenges that had driven him to despair. In the 1990s, Jim had grown a corporation that served the handicapped from the startup level to a $24 million business. In 2002, however, a change in government policy killed his business. In the same year, he also suffered a disastrous loss in his personal investments, as well as losing the life savings of a close friend. Faced with this loss, Jim found himself unable to imagine a future for himself. This film will show you how Jim was able to turn his life around in one day, from suicidal despair and financial shame to a greater understanding of himself and the satisfaction of living his life's true purpose. 1 year later, Jim is happy and enthusiastic about his life and his work. This is the story of one man's journey from pain to freedom. So let's begin when Jim first stood up in the midst of despair to speak with Anthony Robbins.
I'm Jim.
Okay. And you're suicidal?
I have been focused on it for the last month, and suicide is, I've not been in the state where, I actually love life, and what has occurred is I've gotten myself in a situation where suicide was not so much a thought, it was a solution. It is a solution to an economic dilemma. This last year has been disastrous financially, and where about a year ago I was almost at a peak, the best it ever been.
Yes.
It's been a very difficult ride to have it be so negative. Yes. Financially, and probably more than financial is the who you are. A 13-year career went away.
So loss of your identity.
Yeah, very much so. And in fact, the identity is what has had me so ideation with the concept of suicide because in order, even though I may cease to be, I actually can preserve the identity that I believe that I am. And these things I'm saying to you I've learned in the last few days and how to language it to you.
Yeah, I understand.
Robbins and Jim have just agreed on Jim's problem. Jim has suffered a financial disaster, but the real problem is that his life conditions have changed and he feels that he has lost his identity. Robbins' game plan will be to help Jim conquer his sense of pain and loss so he can resolve his financial situation and be happy again.
What's been going on is just the sense of my soul being competed for and torn apart. And so hour to hour this morning was horrendous. I considered leaving the seminar. I just didn't think maybe it was appropriate for me to be in here. And yet I've waited 5 years since I discovered you had it and to come to the Mastery Series, and this is I've been waiting for this. What the dilemma is just simply I'm sorry?
You've said a couple things. Before you go further, I want to note two things. Number one, ladies, if you really want to understand a man and have compassion instead of hate or frustration for them, hear what this man just told you. He would die to maintain his sense of significance.
Robbins makes Jim's issue the property of the whole room in the sense that men will identify with his problem and women are being asked to understand it. Robbins attends to the needs of the whole group while speaking with an individual, so that as the individual changes for the better, so does the entire audience.
Significance and love.
I know that's what you really want. But
I want to preserve it with those that love me.
How will you preserve your love if you die? You only preserve the identity. You won't preserve your love. That's a fucking lie.
Well, I don't see it that way. I mean, I haven't up to now. I'll certainly be open to what you're saying. I don't see it that way.
I know you'll be open to it.
Okay.
Just as Jim is explaining the justification for suicide, Robbins interrupts him using intense language. The purpose is to jolt Jim out of those dangerous thoughts so that he has to find another solution.
And how many heard that when he said it, by the way, that he would preserve the identity? At least by dying, he preserves the identity. Men will die to preserve their identity. Right? The second thing, as you said this morning, was horrendous. Which part of the morning was horrendous?
Showing up, being not the processes that were being done, just the state the thoughts, the state, and as much as possible being here, present in what we're doing, and in the background, this constant filtering of, okay, this is the step you need to take. No, that's not a solution. Yes, it is. I mean, just the constant background noise that filters through while participating.
So not feeling like you can be clear.
Yeah. And
feeling turmoil.
I'm sorry?
And feeling turmoil?
Tremendous conflict, yeah. Tremendous.
What's the biggest conflict?
The biggest conflict is my letting myself down, my vision of who I am for several years, your vision of who you are. And in this last year, in many ways, I've let that down, not by overt intention, like, no, I don't care, but I ended up had a person invest in me. I was cooking, a very dear friend. She invested in me, and she was like, oh, can I just, she kind of threw money at me. I was like, oh, wow, and it was kind of a new experience. I've dealt with businesses, but to have somebody believe in you that much. I invested some through a series of stuff. I got wiped out by my stockbroker. I'm very much involved in it as well. I mean, this isn't like, oh, all them. But it was a surprise. I'd talked to him the day before about being conservative. He put me in 3 positions, so wiped me out in 7 days. And the money that was wiped out isn't mine. It was mine to steward, and I thought I was stewarding it. I'd made other investments even like this. I mean, into the knowledge base and what I would go do in my, in a business, that sort of thing. The point is, I'm now, I was laid off a few months ago in a career in an executive position, and all that, I've been learning how much I valued the prestige, and I will say I used it very, not only effectively, but not as well, I'm a big guy. I mean, I had a lot of people that reported to me. I took very good care of them. When I left, I was extremely acknowledged by lots of my staff, and but I realized, I went from daily. I had this massive purpose. It was a charity. We had a mission I really supported, and I went to. I'm absolutely insignificant. It doesn't matter if I get up or not. Now, there's a ton of feel sorry in here, and I know it, but I'm also sharing with you honestly. It's been there. It's driven me. I've allowed it to run me.
You don't need to apologize. It's a very different situation.
Well, I'm trying. Thank you. I'm looking to give you the essence of it without all the kind of, just. It kind of sucks. So that's the bottom line of it. But
this is a man describing suicide.
Well, where that comes in is this. It hit me a little while ago. I got wiped out of my assets. I'm at a point in a month or two, I'm out of all dollars. In retirement fund, everything, zero. It's gone.
You race cars? Race motorcycles?
I do. That's good memory.
Robbins responds to Jim's story by looking for the emotional resources in Jim that will help him overcome his problem. Robbins asks about Jim's hobby of racing in order to get him to talk about the part of his self that enjoys risk and adventure. Watch how Jim's manner changes as he talks about racing.
Yeah, I do. In all likelihood, unless, change things, I'm not going to be able to pursue that continuous because it's fairly expensive. But
how fast they go? Over 100 miles an hour, right?
We have one car that'll do it 200. I've done 150. Miles? Yeah, I've done 150 on mine.
Was that how you plan to do it?
No, not at all. No, it's not like that. It's not this big drama thing. It's just that what I can do is I can pay Laura back. The asset I do have is a life policy.
Well, you can't pay her back if you're gone.
No, yes, I can. The proceeds are named to her.
But it won't be you paying it back. It'll be insurance companies. So you'll basically given the responsibility to somebody else.
I don't know that, I love this woman. She is a sister-in-law, former sister-in-law, my ex-wife and her, and I've still been very close with her, my ex-wife, the family, etc. I don't know that you said it won't matter to her. I think it's a huge difference. Money is the underpinning of our society. And I won't get real philosophical on it. I just think it'll mean, I know it would pain her tremendously that she got this money by my not being here, but I know what it'll pain her a hell of a lot more if she doesn't have her money.
Jim, can I just tell you something? I am going to send her this videotape.
I'm what?
I said I am going to send her this videotape.
You're going to send her this videotape?
Yes.
Well, I don't give you permission to do that.
Well, I don't really think you have any authority over me.
That may be And maybe so, but you certainly don't have my permission to do it.
I understand.
The confines of this room are what I came in as a premise of what we're doing here. And that's exactly how I stood up. I know.
I know, and I know I've lost all your trust right now, but...
Not all of it, but survival. I just going in panic here.
Robbins must do everything in his power to prevent Jim from even considering suicide as an option.
Because I've been wrestling with what else can I do. It's not just
No,
what
it's because
else.
I will not let you be this fucking selfish, because the guilt that she will have when you're gone, that you believe that nothing mattered but money, and that she wasn't able to get across to you that she really loved you, will fucking destroy her life and everyone she cares about. And if you're going to be that fucking selfish, I got to protect her from you. This isn't about taking care of you.
Okay. Well, then, fine. That's you
Because
asked. That's
how
the
much
dilemma I've been
How much guilt would she have if you killed yourself and she knew you did this as a calculated task to just give her money back?
I don't know, Tony. I suspect that it'll be a hell of a lot less than not having her money.
Well,
yeah. That's easy to say.
Hang on a second. Then why don't we just resolve this by the truth?
Yeah. And I tell you what else is the truth. Before you go on, the one other truth is, I don't know. Part of it is I can't live with, and I'm not. I've been back and forth with this.
I just have to tell you the second piece.
I'm sorry?
It's no longer an option because I also have a copy for the insurance company and they won't pay now.
I'm living proof they won't pay.
Okay. I didn't know that. Fine.
You didn't know that they don't pay when people commit suicide?
Actually, I've heard of it being different. After 2 years, it doesn't matter how you go.
No. That's if you jump out of a plane, skydiving, something like that.
Okay.
Not if you calculate your death. They will not pay.
Okay.
Anybody in the insurance business here so they can clarify the facts? Okay.
Okay, fine. The part of the point of standing up when you asked, because this has been, look, this hasn't been all so much about I'm going to die. It's more that there's the presence of that thought that has so ran me for the last while, and I'm so anxious in coming here to.
So the question is, do you want to resolve this now since that's not an option, or because I'm happy to help you resolve it?
Robbins has taken the strong position with Jim that he would not be a passive witness to Jim's suicidal plans, and that he would eliminate the financial benefits Jim sought in suicide. He destroys Jim's justifications for killing himself. Now Jim has to face his loss and find a future. When suffering a loss or a drastic change in life conditions, you must take certain steps to overcome the grief, adapt to the new situation, recover your sense of purpose, and create a future. Robbins guides Jim through 7 steps for creating a compelling future. First, evaluate your initial response to the new situation. Second, identify the needs you want to satisfy. Third, understand the side benefits of staying in despair. 4. Define your true purpose. 5. Find multiple ways of achieving your purpose. 6. Shift your body. 7. Create a compelling future. Robbins has just taken Jim through step 1. Evaluate your initial response to the new situation. When faced with a loss, most people have a strong initial reaction. You must look at this initial response and ask yourself, is this good for me and for others, or is it destructive? If it is not good for you and for others, discard it. As soon as Robbins heard about Jim's suicide plan, he knew he would stop at nothing to prevent Jim from acting upon it. The second step is to identify what needs you want to satisfy. According to Robbins, people are motivated by 6 human needs: the need for certainty, variety, significance, that is feeling worthy, important, connection, love, growth, and contribution. The first 4 are the needs of the personality. Everyone must satisfy them in some form. The last 2 are spiritual needs. When facing a crisis, the best response is to focus on growth and contribution to others. In order to understand the needs you are trying to meet, ask yourself, What needs was I trying to meet initially? What needs matter most to me now? What actions could I take to meet those needs? One reason why people experience intense pain during times of change is that they have focused on only one or two ways of meeting their needs. Jim believed that he could not be loved unless he was accomplished and successful. When his life conditions changed, he thought he would never be loved again, and so he considered suicide. In order to stay alive, Jim must find new ways to meet his needs. He must be able to experience love, growth, and contribution no matter what the external circumstances.
But I also have to tell you that you've been feeding yourself by doing this as well.
This.
Because the feed that you've been giving yourself is you have an enormous amount of guilt because you have a heart of gold. I can see how much of a connection man you are. You've been living operationally for significance, but you really are driven by love.
I got that the other night, how misplaced my years and years, probably my marriage, the significance versus the love and connection.
Robbins makes a distinction between love and significance, which is the need to feel worthy of love. When people seek the feeling of significance, they are seeking some way to prove their worthiness of love instead of experiencing love and connection directly.
But right now, that's not what's driving you. Love is driving you, but also you're letting the significance still drive you but you still have a love filter on it. Do you understand the difference?
You might just have to say that again. I don't think I got it.
Okay. And thank you for going in and feeling. Because that's where the answers will be. They won't be in your head. Because your head doesn't have answers for this, but your heart always has answers. You're a heartfelt man. That's why I have to make sure you can't use these tools. But honestly, I did that just to trap and stimulate the masculine part of you for a moment and to see whether or not you'd still trust. And I thank you for still trusting me partially. You really do trust me completely.
Absolutely. I have since I got your tapes.
So I want to tell you something. I know you've thought these thoughts, and now you really are the kind of man that would sacrifice for love.
The quest for significance often occurs when one doesn't know that what one is really seeking is love. Robbins will show Jim that his drive for significance is really a drive for love. Since business success is not essential to a love life, Jim will see that he can still experience the emotion he values most. This gives him a compelling future.
When you talked about leaving the business, you talked about significance, but you had a tear in your voice, a cry in your voice when you talked about the people saying goodbye to you. There's a big difference, my friend. You are a love monger. You are a love bug. You desperately want love above all else.
In times of crisis, some people engage in self-destructive thoughts and behaviors because they provide certain side benefits. These side benefits may seem to offer short-term relief, but eventually they are destructive for everyone. Together with self-destructive thoughts and behaviors comes despair, the feeling of loss of hope. Even though despair is such a painful emotion to experience, it is often sustained because it makes us feel cared for by others and released from our responsibilities. Here are the main side benefits of staying in despair. 1. Despair reduces the sense of guilt because it feels like a form of penance. 2. Despair brings sympathy from others, even love. 3. Despair justifies abandoning relationships with family and friends with the idea that they will be better off without the desperate person. 4. Despair is an excuse for avoiding obligations and responsibilities. 5. Despair is a way of punishing others who feel they must help and yet fail to help. 6. Despair makes it difficult for significant others to leave because it would mean abandoning a desperate person. 7. Despair justifies indulging in addictions and other self-destructive but pleasurable behaviors. 8. Despair, especially when it comes together with a threat of suicide, is a way to dominate others who, afraid to upset the desperate person, will walk on eggshells. There are two basic types of motivation behind despair: benign and hostile. Because despair is a cry for help, it can lead to benign feelings of connection and caring. Yet indulging in despair is also a way of imposing on those who care. The benign and hostile motivations behind despair often contradict each other and create an impossible situation. While despair gives a sense of doing penance, it also justifies avoiding responsibility. While despair brings sympathy, it is also a way of punishing others. While despair justifies abandoning relationships, it also makes it difficult for people to leave the person in despair. Someone in despair will typically focus on benign motivations and will fail to recognize the pain inflicted on others. The first step out of despair is to become aware of these 8 side benefits and their consequences.